In a really weird way, Marvel fans are waiting for the MCU to be destroyed. One of the biggest things that we are looking forward to is going to be one of the biggest things in Marvel history, and that is the destruction of the multiverse, the beginning of Avengers Secret Wars. Now, the beginning of Avengers Secret Wars, the story, will start before Avengers Secret Wars, the movie. In fact, it's already started. We have learned this in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Incursions have already happened. And in the comics, Marvel Studios told us that essentially the first incursion set off a domino effect, pushing one universe into another universe into another universe, and so on and so forth. By that logic, the destruction of the multiverse has started, plus Clea showed up at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and said that Doctor Strange caused yet another incursion. Then enters Doctor Doom, who is most likely going to follow kind of the same path that he did in the comics, where he essentially destroys the multiverse. He is indeed going to be the main villain of Avengers Doomsday, obviously, but he is also supposed to be the big bad of Secret Wars. Us fans are waiting for all of this, but one of the biggest things we're waiting for is to see all of the characters, both heroes and villains, all of the teams, Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Humans, etc., be on the screen together. Finally, for the first time in Marvel history, not just MCU history, but Marvel history, we can have all of these different characters together. And this happens in Secret Wars and the events leading up to it. And a new report tells us who one of the leaders of Secret Wars is going to be. The report is pretty simple on the surface level, but if you dive into it, it actually reveals a lot. The insider My Time to Shine Hello has recently reported yesterday that it's confirmed that Patrick Stewart will return to the MCU, reprising his role as Professor Charles Xavier. Now, Patrick Stewart / Professor Xavier has already been in the MCU in the Earth 838 universe and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but of course, that Professor X is dead thanks to the Scarlet Witch. But this Professor X variant is specifically going to be the one from the 10,005 universe, the universe that we learned about in Deadpool and Wolverine. This actually reveals quite a bit about what is coming. We've already expected that this universe was going to, in some way, shape, or form, run into our main universe, 616, the Sacred Timeline, which means that Marvel Studios has big plans for the original Fox X-Men. Now, we've already seen in Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel Studios bring back some legends and also create some legends like Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
But this new report tells us just how deeply Deadpool and Wolverine was actually connected to the overall arching story of the MCU. And what's interesting is Kevin Feige told us this. Kevin Feige said that the impact of this movie on the MCU is super high. In fact, he gave it a rating out of 10. He said it was an 8. So the president of Marvel Studios, who oversees literally everything, when asked in an interview to rate the impact that Deadpool and Wolverine will have on the MCU out of 10, said 8. However, fans saw the movie and some were wondering how exactly this is going to be so impactful when inherently the movie itself didn't really affect the MCU and it really didn't affect our sacred timeline. Yes, it was revealed that Deadpool is wanted by the TVA to go to the sacred timeline for some reason. It's confirmed that Paradox did not want Deadpool, but his higher-ups wanted Deadpool in the 616 universe. And all we know is it has something to do with Thor at some point.
What is that? Is that Thor? Why is Thor crying?
So how was Deadpool and Wolverine so impactful to the overall MCU? Impactful enough that the president of Marvel Studios gave it an 8 out of 10. Well, one thing that they did teach us in Deadpool and Wolverine is that everything that we've seen from the X-Men comes from the 10,005 universe. Universe 1005. That is where the events of Logan took place, but in the future. And that is where the events of all the X-Men movies from Fox took place. And that right now is where Deadpool, the main Deadpool that we've seen in all of the movies from the 10,005 universe, and Wolverine, and also Laura, aka X-25, currently reside. But the X-Men are still there as well. In the current time where they're at right now, the X-Men are still alive. All of them, including Professor X, and of course, the rest of them, Cyclops, Storm, Beast, etc. The only one we could probably say isn't alive is Jean Grey, well, because of X-Men 3. But with the Phoenix, you never really know, and you never really know with Marvel, and especially with the Multiverse saga, so I'm assuming we'll see Jean Grey's Phoenix show up at some point in time. But with this new report, we essentially learn who our main X-Men team is going to be, because you're not just bringing Professor X back for a quick little cameo. At least not Patrick Stewart's Professor X. When he comes back for a big role. And since we learned that Deadpool and them reside in the 10,005 universe with the other X-Men, we are assuming that that is the main X-Men team that is going to take place in the events of Avengers Secret Wars. Therefore, Professor X is going to be one of the leaders of our massive Avengers team that is going to consist of not just Avengers, but the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, etc. in Avengers Secret Wars. Because since it's titled Avengers Secret Wars, then really kind of everybody who participates in saving the multiverse could be kind of considered an Avenger. Yes, of course, they're not truly, they're X-Men and Inhumans and whatever you want to say. But as far as the movie is concerned, they're all grouped in with the Avengers. But here's the deal. When you have a massive team, there have to be leaders of that team. And there's essentially a leader group. There's essentially an Illuminati of all of these heroes. And I believe that they are actually going to somewhat adapt a Multiversal Illuminati, which is something we've been waiting for a very long time. Now, this is something that they do in the comics as well, except it's not really a true Multiversal Illuminati. It's the Illuminati of the main 616 universe. But when you have all of these teams together, the leaders of the teams will step forward and meet with the other leaders of the other teams. This will essentially be our Multiversal Illuminati. So we'll probably have Spider-Man and Doctor Strange together go, Professor X of the X-Men, and here's the kicker, we already know Reed Richards is going to be there because Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers already confirmed this. They're going to take place in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. And Kevin Feige already confirmed that he is from a different universe. The Fantastic Four, the first steps, will take place in a different universe that is not the 616 universe. So right there, 3 different universes combining, and 3 different teams, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Avengers. And I hope the Inhumans and other characters come into play as well. But there's been a lot of talk about the Scarlet Witch having a really big role to play in the next 2 Avengers films recently. And if that's the case, and she's a Nexus being, she is there as well. But then we can't forget about the variants, because it's not just one person from each team or a couple of people from each team, but it's multiple people from some of the same teams in different universes. Meaning we could have an Iron Man be a part of the Illuminati. Obviously not from our universe, but there's been a lot of rumors ever since Multiverse of Madness came out that there was indeed an Iron Man of that 838 universe where the Scarlet Witch killed pretty much everybody. And that would be really interesting to see if an Iron Man from 838 universe came into play and met the Scarlet Witch who killed his team. Well, that would be really, really interesting. And that also would mean an actual Illuminati member would become a part of the Multiversal Illuminati team. But as far as we're concerned right now, we have one leader of this team, Patrick Stewart's Professor X. And this report confirms what we've all been thinking, the 10,005 universe will eventually merge with ours. And I'm gonna assume that Deadpool and Wolverine have a pretty big part in that, especially since we know Deadpool does need to be in the sacred timeline at some point in time for future events, because according to the TVA, it's very important that he's there. So although we don't officially know any of the leaders really, we can guess that Spider-Man's gonna be a leader, Doctor Strange, etc. But if this report is true, it looks like we do know our first official member, and that is Patrick Stewart's Professor X, and that just makes sense. Hopefully we get other characters like Magneto, a Iron Man variant. Maybe we get that Tom Cruise superior Iron Man finally. Maybe Molecule Man is involved in this, just like he is in the comics. But either way, Avengers Secret Wars and the events that lead up to it are already sounding really epic. But please go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Does this excite you or not? And if there is a Multiversal Illuminati team, which I believe it is going to be, whether it's called the Illuminati or not, let me know which members of which certain groups or variants even would you like to see make this group, the leader group. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things with the MCU. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.